What's up, guys? It's Joe back again talking about the Kansas State Wildcats and the transfer portal and the basketball team overall. And I know we've talked a lot about different players that can come to Manhattan and make an impact. We've talked about guys that have committed, that have almost committed, that are just even looking at other schools. We've talked about a lot. This video might be more of a State of the Union situation where I'm discussing what I think will happen over the next month and a half. And we'll go from there. We'll talk about some different things of maybe some players I like, maybe some guys I like, maybe what I like to see in the future for the team. I just kind of want to address where we're at right now and where I think we'll be by the end of the summer, by the end of the, kind of the transfer portal recruiting as a whole, that whole cycle. But before I do, let me say, guys, we're on the countdown to 1,000 subs. We are less than 100 subscribers away from 1,000. I'm not entirely sure what we're at the time we're recording this. I believe last time I checked it was 907-ish. So if you're seeing this and you're interested in subscribing, go ahead and drop one. At 1,000 subs, we're going to be giving away a lavender quarter zip, and it's going to be incredible. So once that happens, once we cross that threshold, I'll make a post here talking about the details and what needs to happen. More than likely, it'll be some type of a Google spreadsheet sign-up thing in the description. But once we cross that threshold, look for that video because it will be coming very shortly after. But let me get into today's video. Now, at the moment, we've got 11 spots filled of our 13 roster spots, 13 scholarships for our basketball team. In the transfer portal, we've got guys already. We've landed 2 players in the transfer portal already with Arthur Kaluma and Tyler Perry. We're both 4-star guys as prospects, and obviously Kaluma was a 4-star coming out of high school. But you get guys coming in that are really big impact players. And I've seen a lot of conversation out there saying, okay, well, we're not a tournament team, or we are a tournament team, or we're a top 10 team in the country, or we're just basically anything. I've seen everything, every single stat you can imagine. I've seen K-State's winning a national championship, and I've seen we're the last team in the Big 12. I'm going to set the record straight and say I think we are comfortably a tournament team, but I don't think that immediately puts us to where we were last year. And I'm not saying that we can't be, because I'll talk about what I think the difference will be going forward for this team, what we need to see, but we still have a couple of spots to fill. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Tang's going to be one of those coaches that starts the season with an open spot, as you see some coaches do that with like some guy transfer at the deadline or even a month into the cycle. He's like, yeah, I don't like it here. I'm out. You saw it with the freshman kid that committed to Kansas, enrolled, didn't like the scenery, didn't like Lawrence, and then goes back and goes to Gonzaga. That happens. So some coaches will enter the season with an open spot. Tang doesn't strike me as that guy. I think that if they wanted to fill these last 2 spots right now, they could. And I'm not saying they're that like needy, at least for the first time. We're not like active, like we have to fill this right now. We have to, which we've been that in some Bruce Weber teams where it's how are we going to find guys to fill this roster? If you think about it, Jerome Tang had 2 guys on scholarship with Marquise Noel and Ish Massoud last year, and then he took that team to an Elite 8. He filled 11 guys. 11 different players come in and make a massive impact. Obviously, you got Keontae Johnson, NBA player. Marquise goes to the NBA. Nae'Qwan Tomlin, who nobody knew about coming into this year. Obviously, there's guys at Chipola that did know about him, but he was a very, very, very quiet prospect on the recruiting front. He was one of the top JUCO guys, but he goes to K-State and looks like he's going to be an NBA player. I think there's still a lot of time in this transfer cycle, and I know that it's quick and easy to say, well, we missed out on these guys. We've missed out on too many people. I think the guys know what they're doing. I think it's a safe bet, and I'm not trying to be the first one to say, everybody have patience, everybody take a breath. That's been said a million times, and I believe that, and I do believe it's true. Tang and this roster are going to be just fine. Looking at the 11 dudes we have right now, this is an NCAA tournament team. And I know the skeptics out there will be like, well, we're still not good enough to compete for a Big 12 title. That's fine and dandy, and that's fair if you take it at face value of where we were last year and combine that to this year. Let me explain. When you look at a guy like Dorian Finister, or you look at a guy like Cam Carter, I'm a massive Cam Carter guy. I'm a massive Dorian Finister guy. Granted, it's kind of biased because I'll say I'm a massive guy for everybody on this roster, but you look at them and you see them at this level only. You see Cam Carter at his ceiling, maybe a little bit better than where he was before. Maybe, 2 points more a game, 3 points more a game. I don't think we actively know how much improvement can happen under Coach Tang. Because realistically, we haven't seen guys develop. And hear me out. You've seen guys be special. You've seen Keontae Johnson be special. You've seen Marquise Noel be special. And I'm not saying that Tang didn't play a massive part in that, but we haven't seen what it's like carrying over from the year before. Seeing which guys develop, which guys take the next step. Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson, yes, they needed Coach Tang to thrive, but I think we can all also chalk it up and say, well, if they are that big of a dog, they'll get it wherever they're at. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't be different anywhere else. But Tang obviously worked with those guys and developed them. We just haven't seen what he's capable of doing. That's what I'm saying. Guys, we had 6 returning people come back. Dorian Finister, Jarrell Colbert, who I am over the moon excited for. Taj Manning's the easy pick. Everyone wants to talk about Taj. You've got a bunch of young guys that are stepping up. Cam Carter's back. David Gasson's back. There's a lot of guys that can take that next step forward, and including the freshmen. It's one of the best freshman recruiting classes of all time. I think it's a safe bet to say we all need to give them the benefit of the doubt to say we don't quite know what the ceiling is for this team yet. I think it's safe to say we know what Arthur Kaluma is, or we know what Tyler Perry is, at least at face value of how good they can be. We know that. Nae'Qwan Tomlin's another example of that. Tomlin was a stud all last year, really great player. He's going to be so much better this year, without a doubt. I think he's going to be a smarter player, a better player, more physical, but also not fouling as much. I'm excited to see what happens, but I do want to mention this. This roster can compete for a title, can compete for whatever you want to say. I'm not going to say without, like with flying colors, we're not going to beat Kansas 9 out of 10 games right now. We're not. But we don't know what this team can do. We could be that team, potentially. But you all need to understand, and I know I've been guilty of this too, I'm quick to be a prisoner of the moment. I'll say, okay, we've got the guys, we've got the team, the coaches, we're ready to go. I think when you see Coach Tang had so much success in the first year, it's easy to say that's going to happen again next year. It is not easy to get to an Elite Eight to contend for a Big 12 title. However, the similarity is the coaching staff. You've got good guys that care about the team and the program. I think you see guys like Caleb Rich, RJ Jones, Day-Day Ames. All those guys are going to contribute, but they're not going to be forced to contribute. You know what I mean? That was the difference. Just about everybody we brought in the transfer portal last year had to contribute because we didn't have anybody to bank on. We didn't have reliable guys outside of Marquise and Ish who have been at K-State. This year we do. We've got guys that have been in the system, know the system, are comfortable with it. And I think the last two roster spots, yes, you can make the argument of if we add, in theory, Jose Perez. Obviously, he's going back to West Virginia, but you get a guy that averages 18, 19 a game at their former college, looking to make the jump, looking to go to a major school and really compete. That was his case. He's coming from Manhattan College, going to West Virginia. K-State still, and I believe 100%, will have a full 13-man roster of studs, of dudes. And I know that people cringe out sometimes at the dudes thing. I'm still not there yet. I think the last two spots on this roster are going to be filled with great athletes. If Coach Tang wanted to fill this, there's a guy like Malcolm Dandridge out there who K-State talked to. He's still out there from Memphis. You can get that guy in tomorrow if you really, really pushed it. There's guys that have been in the portal for, a week and a half up to, 3 months at this point. You've seen dudes be in the portal for a long time. You can push the envelope with those guys and get those guys to commit. You saw that with a little bit with Joe Toussaint, Muhammad Wiggy. Neither of those guys are coming to K-State, but I don't feel like those are massive misses. I think this roster is still going to be great regardless of what happens. But we're at a point now where Coach Tang and the boys, they're not forcing it. They don't care if we, having a full roster next week versus by the end of the summer versus by the end of October, that's what's going to matter. You know what I mean? Going into November when we have all the dudes on paper and say, this is the squad, that's where it matters. Not necessarily, July 24th, July 25th. I'm not too worried about it in that sense. But I do want to say this. There's guys out there. And there's guys to watch. I mean, there's a kid, Terrian Murdix, I believe that could be the wrong name, from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, kind of a smaller school. There's guys like that where he averaged, 13 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, whatever the case was. And I could be fudging some of those numbers. I don't have it pulled up here. You get guys that you could probably say, this guy could come in right now. This guy's ready to go. We've got dudes in the past late. Keontae Johnson didn't commit to K-State until August 20th. That's a month away. Good players will continue to enter the portal and we'll have opportunities with them. So all I'm saying for this video, I'm not saying, put $1,000 on K-State to win it all. If you do, that's sweet. You should tag me. I'm not encouraging that, but it is sweet if you do. No peer pressure from here. No peer pressure on this one. But I'm also not saying that we should hang it up. You know what I mean? Close it off for this season. Say, we're screwed. We don't have the right guys. We don't know what this team could be yet. That's the gist of what I'm saying, is we don't know how good these guys can be. You could see Cam Carter be a first-team All-Big 12. You could even see Jarrell Colbert be a first-team All-Big 12 center. There's positions that we don't even know what these guys can do yet. The freshmen, we don't know what they can do. All I'm saying is we got to have faith. And I know that we said faith all season last year, crazy faith. I trust the staff more than ever, especially when you get 2 NBA dudes in Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel. You look at that, even if you're a college freshman saying, or if you're a high school senior for that matter, saying, where do I want to go? Those guys, in the past, K-State, the only thing that's held us back would be there's not much NBA talent from that school, to an extent. And the coaching staff wasn't the right group. This year, it's the right group. Now you've got proven NBA track record guys. Marquise went from a 2-way contract, probably going to find his way in some big minutes for the Raptors alongside Grady Dick. And you got Keontae Johnson. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get, but he is an absolute stud and is going to be an NBA player for the next decade. Those guys are K-State products. There's going to be more to follow soon. Coach Tang helped that whole Baylor team transform into a national powerhouse for a reason. That's not going to leave in 2-3 years. K-State's on that path. We're all just early in the process. So I'm encouraging you all to have a little bit of faith and wait and see what happens, because there's good players out there, my friends. Now, that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I appreciate you. If you're interested in subscribing, we're close to 1,000 and we are trying to get there. Whenever we get there, I will post that video about the giveaway. Other than that, guys, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, and go Cats.